Good Friday afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. Victor, you are somewhere new.
In a very new and very cold. I'm in Amsterdam and I don't like myself. I want to go back. Great people, so it's great time in Amsterdam, but I'm dreading that I need to go out now after this session.
How cold do you think it is?
Like, not far from freezing point.
Okay. Which is, if you're less than what, 25, you don't like it?
No. Don't exaggerate. Less than 20.
Okay.
I can be okay on 20 degrees Celsius, yes.
Yeah. That's 70 something for everybody else, I think.
Yeah.
Celsius math is hard for me. Why did okay,
1/5 before boiling?
Yes. That's where you want it. Karen, good to see you. Thanks for being here with us live today. My name is Darren. This over here is Victor, and we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that comes out on Wednesdays. And on Fridays, if we are near an internet connection, we try to do a live show. Now,
Exactly.
This week, the cable guy showed up at my house and in theory fixed all of my drops. So we'll see. Let's see if my cable stays on the whole time. I'm debating. I'll let people vote about this over the next few weeks. I'm debating on keeping this service through my cable provider.
Okay.
As well as we have fiber coming to our neighborhood. And I might keep both services and bond them together. Redundancy.
Sounds a bit excessive. I mean, you have redundancy through mobile.
That's true. Okay, you just talked me out of it. Thanks. It's interesting to talk about, but if I was to do that, I would need a dual bonded router to bring in both services, which is more money, which is still a single point of failure. Because if that goes down, I'm still host. Okay. Thomas, good to see you. Thanks for being with us today. So you're in nice, cold Amsterdam. Yesterday for me, we were talking 25. I think I was close to here, which is really weird. It was almost 30 yesterday, Celsius. It was 82, I think is what the translation is.
Oh, that's amazing.
Tomorrow, it's supposed to be 3 Celsius, or no, 8 Celsius.
Okay, whether it's 3 or 8, it doesn't make much of a difference. It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold. So, yeah, that'll be tomorrow. But that's okay, because it's still February. It should not be 82 in February where I live. It should be...
Oh, where you live, yeah.
Where I live, it shouldn't be that. It should be 50, which is whatever that is. So
there's half of the planet where it should be.
Correct. Let's get into the show today because we weren't here last week, and I was thinking, okay, maybe there's still some stuff coming out over the next, we would have 2 weeks worth of things to talk about. And we have 2 weeks of tools to talk about, but there was no news. No news. So we had Brian on from Spyderbat. We were talking about eBPF. That will show back up today. And then this week, we had Ran on from Helios. Now, you can go listen to both of these. Again, Helios is talking about testing and also eBPF. Do you see a recurring theme here?
Yeah.
Ran actually had a blog post of his show up on CNCF this week. So helping Go teams implement OpenTelemetry. So it's very interesting what Helios is doing. So they go through the whole thing and talk about, because you've talked about this to where OpenTelemetry and Go has been, bothersome.
The problem is that you can automatically instrument most of your code that is written in languages like interpreted languages like Python or JavaScript and so on and so forth, right? But in this case, in case of Go, there was no, at least not officially, a library that would or means to instrument your application, right? There are probably a couple of other languages. So using something like Helios sounds absolutely amazing. The less work I need to do, the better. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's supposed to be the magic of OpenTelemetry, right? Just do the drop-in and everything's magically done. That's what we want.
there will always be. I don't think that will ever be exactly like that. Simply because you will, with time, start discovering, hey, actually, I need this specific part of the code, not something generic, not every function or whatever. But I want to know what's happening in those 3 lines or things like that. And in those cases, you will need to intervene. But at least they should be limited to specific use cases, not I just need instrumentation.
And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, of course, here's the pitch of there's an easier way to implement OpenTelemetry with Go. Just call us at Helios. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Everybody does that. That's okay. But at least they waited till the end to talk about it. But he takes you through the pain, which is a lot of fun. So anyway, congrats to the crew at Helios for getting published on CNCF blog. That's always a good thing. And I think it's just going to keep getting more and more interesting from an eBPF standpoint over the next 2 years. Do you think?
It's one of the new battlegrounds. This is now one of the areas that are exploding now, and then we will see companies appearing and disappearing until a few are left. That's how it works.
I'm saying it's hot now. eBPF today is where Kubernetes was 2016, 2017 to an extent.
It's not going to be the scale of Kubernetes or anything like that, but it's within Kubernetes ecosystem, probably outside as well. It's the next battleground, just as we had a huge number of service meshes appearing overnight, and then observability and security. Now it's eBPF, even though it covers actually all those areas.
Okay, Timon, good to see you. Vladislav, good to see you as well. Thanks for being here. So in case people are new here, thanks for hanging out. And if you don't listen to the podcast, you should, number one. It comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. By the way, I think we're about 10 days away from the most wonderful time of year. That's when the EU goes into daylight time, but the US doesn't. I think that's in 10 days.
Lucky you. Lucky you. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, kind of like you solved the problem. Kind of no more changes of time, of daylight, winter light, whatever. No?
Not true. No, they did not pass it.
Really? I thought that you stopped doing those things. Okay.
No.
Then
so what was supposed to happen was in this coming, and who knows, it could still happen. But and I need to go back and look at it anyway. But when we were to change into daylight time in the next few weeks, that was supposed to be the last time we make the change. But I don't think that passed.
So you chickened out at the last moment.
Somebody chickened out. Okay, it's funny you say chicken. So my grandfather raised chickens. So we would go out and pick eggs. So these weren't chickens for, I mean, you could use them for eating too, but they were for laying eggs. That was their purpose. You always have growers and you have layers. Those are the two. So we were working with layers. And the time would change. And he'd say to me, son, chickens don't know that the time changed. You still have to get up at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's how I've always thought about time changes. It's like, doesn't matter. Got to do the work. Speaking of doing work, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. So this is the release notes for Google Cloud Run. February 16th. You can now deploy public container images from Docker Hub.
That's very cool. I mean, I'm assuming that they mean public container images from wherever.
I would hope they mean that. I haven't actually gone into it and tried it out. But, it was sort of, so if you go back and look at the Twitter thread that Starin does, Starin's the product manager for Google Cloud Run. He had this, it's like, yeah, finally we did this. After however many years.
I understand that there could be a service that says only internal registry. I understand that perfectly. Or internal and public, I understand that as well. But if it's only Docker Hub and I cannot use it from anywhere else, then no. On the other hand, when you think about it, I think that majority of people using cloud are using registry in that cloud. Unless somebody's tried to rip off somebody else, it almost makes no sense to kind of. Would you really use Google Cloud Run with registry in AWS? Not very likely, right?
No, probably not. Just like you wouldn't use ECR for GCP.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least the private ECR. There's public ECR now, but okay, whatever. But anyway, now you can do public images into GCR, which actually opens up testing things a little bit easier. It's like, oh, let me go pull this image. Not that you should be pulling an image from a public registry. Let's not go there. Bill, thanks for joining Germany.
Hey, Bill.
Germany. And again, welcome. You didn't have any post up this week on Pulumi. You're slacking, dude. Come on.
Getting lazy.
Okay. So that was images from a GCR perspective. Amazon, AWS, let's just say, now has shipped 125. Good, right? They're right on the
Nice.
rhythm. That's all good. But, which is always the fun one to look at. Go to anytime they say we now support this version, you need to go to the bottom and talk about the
Okay.
things that have happened. Right. So we talk about PSP has been removed, which that's standard for 125.
Yep.
Talking about all the other things, but then you get to the very, very bottom. And this is where they say, wait, there it is, conclusion. You usually go to the conclusion. And then this is where they talk about end of life. So 121 was dead February 16th, and 122 is going to be dead in May. So if you're still running clusters that are 122, the clock is ticking.
Exactly. I mean, if Kubernetes community stops supporting something, then it would be very difficult. Even if AWS would want to support it, it would be very difficult, right? I mean, more difficult. They would need to start forking it and what's not,
And nobody wants
which
to do
they
that.
might be doing. But
Well, I'm sure they're forking it to get it out to EKS, but
I mean, they're probably forking it and adding some standard stuff for AWS, but not forking it and then fixing bugs, things like that.
everybody seems to be a pretty nice player when it comes to upstream for stuff that matters. I mean, at least as far as we can tell. Now, 125 is available, but beyond that, you can now put EKS anywhere on the Snow devices. You know what the Snow device
What's
is,
the
right?
Snow? I have no idea.
It's the Snow device. So these are the devices where they would ship out to you if you wanted to, let's say you had petabytes of data or even terabytes of data that you wanted to get into S3. They would ship you a Snow device, you would put it on the Snow device, they would plug it in for you, transfer it, and you're done. Instead of having to wait days, weeks, months to upload.
Okay.
But now these devices are smart enough to where you can actually run EKS on them, or at least EKS
Very cool.
anywhere. Now, this picture, other than the puppy, reminds me of a few weeks ago when we did the Chick-fil-A look and they had the 3 nooks stacked. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now we have 3 Snows sitting side by side with a puppy on top. So anyway,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this because people are saying let's go to cloud, except now let's have devices that connect up to cloud. We still have a data center at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing that for majority that's a way to survive transition period, right? Because you cannot just move everything to cloud overnight, right? And then if you move something, then you need to figure out how that will work with something else, and then maybe combining EKS here and there is a good solution. I mean, I'm not using it myself, so I'm half guessing here.
Yeah, the looking through here, they give you the getting started. You have to order a device, and then you're ordering it for whatever, however you want it. So they bake, it looks like, the version of Kubernetes on it. Interesting.
Yeah, especially if that works, like kind of plug it in and it becomes automatically part of a cluster. Kind of just by plugging it in, that would be awesome.
Yeah, because if we're looking at this diagram, so we have, that's all local, that's all local. Well, but anywhere is anywhere. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see somebody actually use this. But anyway, that's now you can run EKS anywhere on a Snow device.
And you don't get the doggy.
But you don't get the puppy.
It's not part of the deal, no.
No. Okay. And really, that's pretty much all the news for the past 2 weeks. There were some other ancillary things, but nothing. It's just quiet wintertime. Either people are getting ready for KubeCon EU, or they're all on the slope skiing. I think that's what it is.
Or both.
Right, because the analog. So in the summertime, people are at the beach. In the winter, they're on the mountains.
Exactly.
Right. So, I saw this today. This is brand new. It's called Zrock. Do you remember when we talked to the OpenZD guys?
Yeah.
The Zero Trust. So this is from OpenZD, or this is from NetFoundry, who is the company behind OpenZD. And basically what it is, other than having really cool things, to me this is very similar to ngrok or Cloudflare D, to where now you've got a tunnel and can make it, because that was the thing with OpenZD, is you had to have an OpenZD client and you had to get authenticated and you had to go through a bunch of handshake to get set up. Now you were completely secure at that point. This now allows you to open up a tunnel to whatever you want, whether in this case private to private, or you can do HTTP proxies, which there was a drawing here for, did I miss it? Oh, it's this one. And there's the public. This is, this looks like ngrok. So this is a very interesting spin around, because it'll tunnel into into the hosted OpenZD, which I still have. I haven't used it in a long time. But it's this will be one to start looking, because right now it's under private beta as well. So you have to get an invite to even get it set up. So if you're already using OpenZD and you haven't seen Zrock yet, you should take a look at it. Okay. One of our other fun tools was VHS. Do you remember VHS?
Yeah.
So this is where you could create, from text, it will create images for you. Well, now, in the new version that came out this week, you can now automatically host the animated GIFs on their sites. It's small.
What was the name of that service? There was a service, I don't remember the name, that you essentially write shell commands, it records it as Git, and then makes it publicly available. You just share the address or embed it in your... You don't remember that one?
ASCII Cinema?
That one, exactly. ASCII Cinema, exactly. Something similar, right?
Yeah. So this is similar to that. So anyway, because they hadn't had a new release since, I think, November. I think November is their last one. So the features in this one are hosted and shareable GIFs, and then an output flag, which they didn't have before, which was sort of interesting. And then a handful of just little small things. So not a huge release, but a couple of, I guess, quality of life type deals. So
nice.
Okay. Are you ready for this? You don't have a choice, because
I don't know what it is. How can I know whether I'm ready?
OneUptime.
OneUptime. Okay.
Is an open source complete SRE and DevOps platform. Okay.
Okay.
So it replaces Pingdom, Status Page, Incidents IO. It will be replacing PagerDuty, Postman, Sneak, Loggly, New Relic, Sentry.
Everything.
Everything in one box.
Haha.
There's a hosted version too, but it is open source. But it's open
Nice.
source under MIT, so it's very, very permissive. And it looks like it's been around
Very cool.
a while. But when was our last commit? 4 days ago. Okay, that's fine. This is one to, I guess, to watch. I mean, if you want something all in one, this might be something to look at. I'm not saying
Yep.
good or bad, but based on their list, which is still short right now. So the only thing that it covers is pingdom, status page, and incident.io. So, but then once you go deeper in this list, holy cow, that seems aggressive to me.
Very cool. That one goes on to my list, to-do list.
Yeah, can we create a status page? I haven't downloaded it and played with it yet. My guess is if it's okay here, let's do this because I actually.
I mean, there is a SaaS version, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it must
So
be.
status page, supposedly they do this, whatever this is. So, oh, this is what it looks like. Okay. Oh, I'd forgotten Atlassian bought status page. That's right. That's the reason why I'd forgotten about it. Nothing against Atlassian. I just had forgotten. Yeah. So I guess,
We need to try it out.
yeah. Okay. So that's OneUptime. Kronos. I debated on putting this one in. It allows you to periodically invoke your webhooks using a cron expression. Is this a something for, what's the phrasing for this? Is this a solution in search of a problem? Is what I'm thinking.
It sounds like that kind of. I mean,
So all
I'm
right,
trying
so
to
let's,
figure out what would they use it for.
okay. So here's because typically because like when the website publishes on Wednesday mornings, I have a cron set up that calls a webhook on Netlify. Like, and
Okay.
it's running on a Raspberry Pi down in my garage. So as
Okay.
long as the Raspberry Pi is up, the website gets updated. But there's one thing that this does, and there's a Docker Compose to run it, which is fine. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But there's one feature. So normal stuff you would expect. Title description is recurring. That's fine. Actually, here, let's look at the example. Cron expression, that's good. Email, well, you can do email with cron, except now when you set up a cron, though, it's only a single email address, whereas I can set up separate email addresses. So at least that diverges just a little bit. That's okay. The webhook address, that's fine. I'm not sure what recurring is based on cron, but we'll look at that in a second. Is recurring, whether the schedule is recurring or not. Okay, don't really understand that. Unless it's a one at. So anyway, there's a run at, there's a start at, and there's an end. And this is the key part for me. This is the reason why I added this, is that you can actually end this.
Yeah.
So let's go back to what I was doing when we were trying to get nominated or trying to win the DevOps Dozen. I had set up a Jenkins job to run things, and I would have to go, when it was over and done, I had to go and delete the job.
Okay.
Whereas here, I could have gone ahead and set up the start date and end date, and then walk away.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a big deal.
Fair enough. So
But it's a small.
kind of like the end date is what kind of like in your specific case is beneficial part of it.
It's the only thing that stands out to me.
Yeah.
Because if you're
Exactly.
doing anything that's time boxed over time, and you're always having to remember, okay, I have to remember to go do this at this time, or pull it out, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. Then this is where I think it is. But it's pretty lightweight and looks pretty good. And the other thing I liked about it too is the way you manage the schedules is all through the REST API, which is a plus and minus in my opinion. But you may have a use
nice.
case for it. Nice. I think
Yeah.
it's MIT as well. So that is called Kronos. We talked about eBPF earlier. LoxiLB.
Okay.
I'm a little annoyed with the website because the flashing stuff bugs me.
It's very irritating. Yeah, no. I cannot focus on whatever is on that screen because I'm trying to follow the light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. Okay, it takes me down. So anyway, LoxiLB is a fully open source external service load balancer from scratch using eBPF. We've talked about this in the past. What are the good use cases for eBPF? Load balancer is one of them. So.
Yeah, but kind of, it's a tough cookie, right? Because there must be some very, very, very appealing story behind it for me to consider not using whichever external load balancer is offered by your cloud provider, assuming that we're not talking about on-prem here. It's almost kind of
self-managed. Yeah,
it's one of those things that almost nobody, very few debate. Kind of, should I use AWS load balancer with Kubernetes or what's not? Kind of, I don't see much debate there.
Yeah,
I'm sure that this is better, but kind of it needs to be very much better, right? Kind of, not to use ELB.
Yeah, they do have a virtual lab that you can test out, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
But, okay, I can't look at the flashing thing. But this
Probably for high load, people who actually go beyond normal.
Yeah. So there's the benefits. High perf, cloud native, interoperability, and cutting edge. I guess the other thing, too, is if there's protocols you need, that would be the thing, is if the load balancer at the provider doesn't support protocols you need, then this has those things. So, all right, that's LoxiLB.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? From AWS Labs, have you ever needed to, well, you haven't and I haven't because we're always root, but have you ever been in a place to where you wish you could break the glass? But the problem with breaking the glass...
permission perspective?
Permission perspective, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And that's always easy, right? Getting somebody to break the glass is easy for you, even if you can't do it yourself. The problem is during that break glass scenario, is everything being tracked?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And that's what this is from AWS Labs. So it goes in, sets up, it's all in TypeScript. But it's what it is. Right, which I'll give them that. So you can break the glass with that, and then it can all be revoked. But as it's set up, it sets up the CloudTrail logging, it sets up EventBridge, all the notifications. It's like a full-on thing. I think this is super cool for these scenarios.
Here's my question. If the primary purpose is to start tracking what's happening when you break the glass, why not track always?
You could, but that might be, for probably the things they're doing right now, again, I haven't broke it all down, is that can get really expensive.
That's true.
Versus when you need to break glass, like I need to,
Makes sense.
because you're tracked, because if you've got everything locked down, we've talked about this before. In a perfect world, everything goes through Crossplane, Terraform, Pulumi, something.
Yeah.
Right? Everything goes through there, and that way it's all being tracked, not just there, but then you've got specific users' roles that are doing the things.
Correct.
But if if you need to manually do something, that's, yeah.
It's actually, more I think about it, cooler it sounds. I need to try that.
Well, there's a link for it down in the description. Not right yet, but there
yeah.
will be. AWS Break Glass role. In fact, I need to send this to somebody. I thought I had, but I don't think I did. Anyway, that is that one. Okay, next. ccExplorer. We've seen this whole FinOps thing come into play of managing cloud costs. Here's an alpha for a new tool that does more of the same.
Yeah.
It's not designed as a replacement for AWS Cost Explorer CLI, but it gives some new visualizations and sorting. And wait, the CLI now also supports experimental HTML generation using GPT-3.
Okay. I mean, it's nice to have. I mean, everybody should have that runs at above certain scale should have some kind of Cost Explorer, right?
Yeah.
Just that to me, that sounds like a market that is already getting established with kind of the dominant choices in a way.
Anyway, so that's ccExplorer. We talked about RunMe. Do you remember RunMe SH?
Sounds familiar, but now I forgot what it is.
I think that's it. Boy, I hope it is. Oh, it's not it. So it was a service or a site where you could actually. Here, let me do that again. RunMe Markdown. So it's for running Markdown. Run your README.
Okay.
RunMe.dev. Sorry, that was it. So RunMe.dev.
Okay,
Right? Which is fine. But this person has written an md-exec. So as long as the file is Markdown, period, not just the README, it will go off and run it for you. But it does a few extra things than the other one did, I think. I'm still working through some of the ideas, but I can run Groovy. Well, I would just use Groovy, but I get it.
yeah.
So that's.
I mean,
it's a small project, but it's
Why not?
newish. Yeah. But again, if you've looked at, let me pull this over here. RunMe.dev is run your README. So I don't remember if it did anything besides the README. Plus, you had to do it. This was also only inside of VS Code, whereas this is just command line.
okay, then I don't
Right.
like it anymore.
You don't like this anymore because it's command, or the other one, the RunMe?
No, the other one. If it's only through VS Code.
I think it is. Let's look at it again. Let's see. Oh, there is a CLI. There it is.
Okay.
I'd forgotten about. Okay, it's been a while.
You're saved.
Okay, phew. Okay, good. Flux. Have you started doing anything with Nix yet?
Flux. That's something that, as if I played with it a while ago, sounds very familiar, but escapes me now.
So to me, this is very similar to a virtual environment for Python, except it goes well beyond that. So you can set up whatever you want your environment to be, no matter what it is, the tooling is, and then that's what it is that you have. But Flux takes it
Okay, and it's kind of temporary, right?
It can be, yeah. I mean, it's just because you set up the file and off you go. So you're not just building your code, but also the environment that code needs to actually run in.
Nice.
So that's Flux. Again, this is fairly new as well. Some people love and hate. I found this is sort of the same argument of I can't even explain it, but some people love Nix and some people hate Nix. And at least for this, it seems to make sense for what they're trying to do with Flux. Anyway, that's because this is the key part here. How many times have you gotten a new machine and you try to get everything just right for doing application development? Yeah, here it's one file and wait for things to download and you're done. You're ready to go.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's Flux. And the most boring tool of the day. Define. A command line dictionary that you can integrate with, wait for it, the Merriam-Webster dictionary or the Oxford dictionaries. You just have to get the API keys. And then from your command line, you can get, now think about it. Combine this with the md-exec or the RunMe we just saw a few minutes ago. Right?
Yeah.
So define, you get the output from that, and then you pipe that into VHS.
You're going crazy now.
I can do it because I can do it.
Yeah. Nice.
This is why you want to do things with CLIs, children. because you can pipe things together.
Pipe.
That's why I put this at the end. It was probably the least cool of all of them, but because of how it can sequence in with other things, then, hey. Of course, then you probably wouldn't want to put the output from Miriam or Oxford in because that would probably be breaking some copyright laws. So don't do that, children. Since we had 2 weeks out, Cloud Custodian, you talked about that.
Yeah, very interesting one. Strange in a way.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I watched the video and then I took a look. I was like, I still don't get it. Because I'm trying to figure out, okay, which angle are they coming at it from?
I mean, my theory, and I might be completely wrong, there's this kind of, I do not know who did what, how, whether there are tools involved, or you're doing through command line, or infrastructure as code, or maybe console. I do not know what you kids are doing, but I can find out. And then I can punish you if you were misbehaving. That's my interpretation of persona that would benefit from that for Cloud Custodian.
So
I might be wrong, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
so it was Cloud Custodian. And then this week was eBPF. You're wading into the waters now.
yeah, another 2 eBPF videos are, because next 2 weeks are there will be 2 more videos that are somehow related to eBPF.
And then finally, with Whitney this week, you did defining and deploying Carvel, YTT, Helm, Kustomize, and okay. I haven't watched this yet.
Okay.
Who's winning on this one, or who is the voting still open on this?
It's closed, and the last I checked, YTT was winning, but I haven't checked the final results, so I might be wrong.
Okay, so
go to Whitney's Twitter and check.
Okay, but ignoring that for a moment. Oh wait, this is pretty funny. No more containers. Everything will run as eBPF. No.
WASM.
Everything. Yes.
That's the sentence. If you replace eBPF for WASM, then that would be a real sentence from somebody.
Yes. Oh, I think you just changed what I was going to be shooting next week. Okay. I'm glad you just said that. So, even if it ends up at YTT, what do you like of these? What's your favorite of all these? And obviously, it's going to depend on what you're trying to do, because if you're as a vendor, you should be providing a Helm chart. If you're not a vendor and you're building your own application, you should be using Kustomize, probably.
Yes.
Or
then,
or CDK8S, maybe, just depending.
So I see, kind of Helm for third parties, without a doubt, Kustomize for my own applications, and YTT or CDKs where I have some madness that must be solved on the client side.
Does Carvel fall into that same route as well?
Yeah, both YTT and CDKs I would put in that last group.
Okay. All right. So I think that's it.
That's all we have?
That's all we have today. I don't understand. Can you tell your people, while you're in Amsterdam, Amsterdam, what's in Amsterdam? There's no chocolate in Amsterdam. That's Belgium, right?
There's weed.
There's weed everywhere.
Yeah, but
let's
here
not talk
it's
about that
legal.
anymore, because we'll get to, but there it's legal. It's legal in a lot of places here. I'm trying to think what was, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's outside that there's windmills.
Windmills? Okay, that's cool.
People using wooden shoes.
Wait, I thought that was Holland. Is that?
Yeah,
is
and
that
Amsterdam is in Holland.
Amsterdam is in Holland.
Netherlands is Holland.
Oh. Right. Time for a break, children. Time for a break. And it's also time to learn world geography, because I can't remember. The joys of not traveling for a number of years now. I actually think is there anything else? So let's think about, yeah, okay. Thank you. Holland is part of the Netherlands. Yes, okay. This is me being the stupid American. So next week. Monday is...
Video on DevOps
You have a-
Toolkit.
Okay, DevOps Toolkit, thank you. Nothing Tuesday. Wednesday is
No,
podcast.
Tuesday is now Choose Your Own Adventure thingy.
Choose Your Own Adventure on DevOps Toolkit as well. Podcast on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
AMA next Thursday?
I think so. Yes. I think that next Thursday.
I
Yes,
remember.
since I'm not traveling. So now this reminds me that I probably need to set it up. But yes.
Okay. And then Friday we'll be back here because you're not traveling.
Exactly. So every day, something.
Every weekday. Well, Monday through Friday there's something.
Yeah.
It's almost like we should be getting paid for this.
You think so?
Be nice. Okay. Oh, and okay, so here we go. Tulips, right? I thought, but that's the wrong time.
Yep.
It's too cold. Too cold. I gotta order that.
I think it's around KubeCon period. I think.
Mid-April, right? That's usually when
Something
things
like
start
that.
happening. Yeah. Well, that's the thing here is people are starting to already put plants out. It's like, look, it's still February. It's like, wait until April 15th. That's like where I live. That's always like, you shouldn't have any more frost after April 15th. Doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but it's like minuscule chance.
Unlikely.
Highly, highly unlikely. Of course, it's also highly, highly unlikely that it's going to be 82 in February. So it's on the other range. Okay. I think that's it. Let's go ahead and wrap up. And everybody have a great weekend. And again, Monday through Friday next week. Something going on every day. Wow. Okay. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you again next week.